So this past week, or weekend, everybody has been talking about this. Sasha Banks went on her Instagram and posted a video basically announcing that something big is going to be happening. Something fucking huge. You know, it's something that she had been, waiting for quite some time. A certain date. Now, you can go watch this on her Instagram if you feel like doing so. I highly recommend you do that because she could say it a lot better than I can. Or any of us that are talking about it can. But Sasha basically felt very excited. She felt very excited and enthusiastic about what's to come. And of course, a lot of fans started speculating on what this announcement is. What is this thing that she's been waiting for 6 months to happen be? What could it be? And of course, a lot of people felt like maybe it's, movie related. Maybe she's got a big role in a huge blockbuster film and, that's why she's excited. Maybe she's getting her own fashion line, and maybe she's, getting her own entrepreneurship going up, if you will, her own business outside of WWE. Or maybe she's got her own series based on a character she played in Star Wars coming up with Disney+. Everybody was throwing out possibilities of what this could be, outside of wrestling. But when it comes to wrestling, of course, there's the normal, she's coming back to WWE, which definitely seems more likely to be the case than anything else. But, of course, you had other fans being like, that certain date this month, it means she's going to debut for AEW. Yeah, that's what she's talking about. Full Gear is just around the corner. Long Island, I could see it happening. Oh, she'll have a great match with Britt Baker when they put that together. Whoopee! People are starting to go that route, too. And even people are like, well, what about the IWGP Women's Championship? They're talking about, that's going to be made official at historical, what is it called? Historical X-Over, if you will. Historic X-Over, if you will, in a couple weeks. Where you have Kairi, the former Kairi Sane, as one of the opponents there. And someone else, I can't think of her name right now, it's Mimi or Mimi, or say Mimary or something. Someone we had seen on AEW recently, competing to crown the first champion. And everybody, including Solomonster, who I'm just in the process of, watching his video clip from his podcast yesterday, I should say, on the entire situation. Even he feels that championship is tailor-made for someone like a Sasha Banks or Mercedes, which is her real name. So, everybody's coming out and saying, it could be she's going to show up in New Japan as Historical X-Over, as the first challenger to the new champ and all that. And look, everybody has a right to their opinion. They do have a right to their opinion. I'll grant you that. I will grant you that. But going back to what I said moments ago, this past Saturday at Crown Jewel, doing the signature intro, the then, now, and forever for WWE that WWE puts up at the beginning of all those shows. Sasha and Naomi were in there. People spotted them in there. And furthermore, there have been little hints thrown throughout of them possibly coming back. I mean, even Hulu, when they would advertise the replays of Raw and SmackDown that they would show, would have Sasha and Naomi in the replay highlights. So there were little hints, obviously, that they were coming back. But does this announcement tie into that? We're not really sure. Because the question obviously is, if this does have to do with wrestling, if this does have to do with WWE, then why is she so excited? Why is she so thrilled for this new chapter? Well, let's be honest. When she first came to WWE, it was in NXT. who was running NXT? Triple H. Who does she feel more comfortable, running things now in WWE? Or she wanted to feel more comfortable running things in WWE during her time. Triple H. She worked with Vince, and Vince was cool with her and everything. But who did she want more than Vince running things? Who did she want more than Dunn or Pritchard running things? Or Laurinaitis? Who did she want? She wanted Triple H. And now Triple H is back. And Triple H has Survivor Series booked in Boston with War Games as the highlight, as the attraction for the event. So, people are wondering, if this does have to do with WWE, why the excitement? Because of the fact that now that Triple H is in charge, Sasha Banks, Mercedes, can finally be the boss that she was in NXT. She can finally be the Sasha Banks she was in NXT, if not more so. She's going to be allowed a lot more freedom to say what she wants on the mic, act the way she wants. She's going to basically be able to bring that NXT Sasha Banks to the main roster like she's always wanted. I mean, we've gotten glimpses here and there, of that Sasha Banks, but she's never been given full opportunity to shine as the NXT boss version of Sasha Banks. Now she's got that opportunity. And I think that's what she's excited about. She's excited that she's going to be able to bring that Sasha Banks, onto the main roster. Now, whether or not that Sasha Banks of NXT is a face on the main roster or a heel is another story. We'll have to see. Now, Solomonster, Jason, brought up the fact that Sasha could be the fifth member of, Bianca Belair's team. And that definitely ties into the history from a continuity standpoint, storyline standpoint, of her and Sasha. Remember, her and Sasha historically not only main evented night one of WrestleMania a year ago in Tampa Bay, but they made history by being the first African American women of color, if you will, to do so. They were the first to do it, and they did not disappoint. And it got them an ESPY award out of that. How many pro wrestling matches, men or women, across the globe, across this country, can say that? Nobody. Only Sasha and Bianca can. So having her align herself with Bianca and her team for War Games, is a obvious win-win situation, especially in her hometown. Now, you might say basically, well, what if it's not that? What if it's what some people are giddy about? AEW Full Gear. I'll tell you what, if it is AEW Full Gear, there's a reason. One, because of the partnership with New Japan. Although that partnership might be a little strenuous, since recently, as of this past Saturday actually, Michael Cole came out and acknowledged Bullet Club and the fact that Carl Anderson was the new Never Openweight champion, the current Never Openweight champion of New Japan. Would that have happened under Vince's watch? No. It would not happen under Vince's watch. Unless there were people he was cool with saying it, knowing that, okay, you can acknowledge it, but that's it. Or you can acknowledge maybe the accomplishments, but that's it. And, never once though, what I'm trying to say here, never once would Vince ever allow his talent to go beyond anything else but acknowledging maybe the past accomplishments elsewhere. Like when AJ Styles debuted in the 2016 Rumble, JBL, who was a commentator at that time, came out and said, AJ Styles, former NWA champion, former IWGP champion. You might say, well, maybe that was Triple H in his ear. We don't know. And that might be true. It might have been Triple H. But if it was also Vince, and Triple H, of course, was still making NXT a hot deal at that time, maybe Triple H convinced Vince to at least let them acknowledge the past accomplishments that AJ Styles made to the business. And there you go. So I'm assuming Vince okayed it, but Triple H may have kind of convinced him to, at least let the acknowledgement of the accomplishments AJ did be, acknowledged, basically, if you catch my drift. But the point that I'm getting at, getting at is up till those kind of points, never once were the announcers allowed to acknowledge, people's past histories with factions that they created outside of WWE. Like he acknowledged Finn Balor as the originator, the leader of the Bullet Club. Like I mentioned, he acknowledged Carl Anderson as the current never openweight champion of New Japan. Never once would Vince allow those kind of things to be acknowledged. Triple H is. And why? Because Triple H is trying to create partnerships himself. Partnerships that are going to open the door and give them a foothold to try to create an NXT Japan. And what better way to do that, as I've mentioned before, and others have mentioned before, than to create some positive working relationships with the companies in these countries, or in these other countries. Now, with that said, basically, I bring this up when it comes to Sasha, if you will. I bring this up, when it comes to Sasha and everything. And Triple H, again, is the kind of person that's going to allow her to be herself. Either she's a face or she's a heel. He's going to allow her to be herself. Be the Sasha Banks that people were talking about in NXT. Which is why, everybody is assuming, in a majority-wise, that because Survivor Series is in Boston, and that crowd's going to be chanting for Sasha when they're there. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be chanting for Sasha, almost right from the beginning. They're going to be chanting for her. You can't tell me that Triple H isn't looking at an opportunity to be like, now's the chance to give them the Sasha Banks they should have got from day one when she came to the main roster from NXT. He sees that opportunity. And I think that's why she's excited, because this is a journey she's been wanting to take for quite some time like I was saying, this is a journey she's been wanting to take for quite some time. Like I mentioned, we got glimpses here and there, but not full on presentation. Not full on presentation until possibly now. And as I was mentioning before I went off on that little tangent about Vince and things being different, with him allowing certain things to be acknowledged if somebody was telling him it's okay to do that, and but never acknowledging someone being a current champion from another organization that's currently working for him and stuff like whatever. I mentioned that the only reason she would choose AEW, why people would be giddy at the AEW prospect, is because of the working relationship currently, which could be strained a little bit, because like I was mentioning, Triple H is trying to get something going there too, with New Japan. The only reason they would say AEW is because, one, it would give her an easier opportunity, a less work schedule, but an easier opportunity to go and work in Japan than if she was working for WWE. But, as we could see with Shinsuke Nakamura and his match with the Great Muta and on New Year's Day, for Pro Wrestling Noah, WWE, especially under this new regime, is not against something like that happening, especially if it benefits both sides. And it's in this case, out of respect for a legend's contributions in the business. So, there's nothing Nothing wrong with something like that. There's nothing wrong with doing something like that, period, in my opinion. And if that is part of what's going to get Sasha Banks to come back to WWE, if not has already been made as part of the new deal, then then I would agree. Go to AEW. You have a better chance of doing it, through them than anybody else, and you work a less schedule. But this is what I think is going to happen. If this does relate in any form to WWE, especially with Survivor Series coming up with the War Games theme and it being in Boston, and knowing fans are going to be chanting for her from the very start, here's what I think is going to happen. Let me get my thoughts, because I'm doing this uncut and unscripted. I do apologize. You can probably tell that already. But let's look at possibly what could happen if this is all part of this announcement, if you will. Almost lost my train of thought there. I do apologize. But let's take a look at if this is all part of this announcement. With Survivor Series coming up, War Games being tied in, and being in Boston, and fans chanting for Sasha from the beginning. You know that Triple H does not want her to go to AEW or anywhere else. So I'm thinking this is what's happened. If this does tie into everything I just mentioned, they made a deal to where she'll come back, she'll work a schedule with them, maybe not a full-time schedule, but not a part-time schedule like, let's say, a Roman Reigns or a Brock Lesnar have, but more along the lines of a semi-full level, or semi-full-time. Basically, like the equivalent for me, a full-time schedule is like 8 to 12 hours a day. I could see her having the equivalent of a semi-full schedule. Like with me, it's sometimes 4 to 6 hours. So I could see her having something like a 6-hour, kind of like schedule. Not saying she would work 6 hours and that's it. No, I'm just saying an equivalent of she'd be kind of close to full-time. She'd be kind of close to full-time, but not necessarily. Like, she'd still be able to go out and do other projects, but she would be there for, like, the Raws, the SmackDowns, and some live events here and there. But I believe, in addition to that new kind of contract status to where she'll be on a semi-full basis, I think it's been agreed upon that she will be allowed to do Japan. I think that's what's been agreed upon, that, if the opportunity, presents itself and it's correct, and it's respectfully the right opportunity, the correct opportunity that both her and WWE and Japan can agree upon, I see her doing it. I see her going over to Japan and wrestling. So I think if this is all about her coming back to WWE, I think the deal, especially with the fact that she's in the signature intro, I think the deal has been signed, sealed, and now delivered, that basically she's not only coming back, but she'll be on a semi-full basis, so semi-full time, not like a Brock Lesnar or a Roman Reigns, but semi-full time. But in addition, she'll be allowed to compete in Japan, depending on what kind of a match she'll be able to take part in. Which tells me this: if Kairi wins the IWGP Women's title, and a week later Sasha's back in WWE, then you know that that's going to be the match she wants, her and Kairi, for the IWGP Championship. Because if you let that match happen, that's another step for Triple H to create a positive working relationship with the company. Because not only does it give you more exposure from the IWGP New Japan side of things on a bigger scale than what you would give at AEW, but it gives your newer championship, the IWGP Women's title, much needed exposure. So it's looked at as one of the more prominent, prestigious women's championships, internationally across the globe. So I think that's what's happened. I think Sasha got the deal she wanted. She'll be able to still work, but not like full time, but basically semi-full time, the equivalent of maybe a 4 to 6 hour day, or 5 to 6 hour day. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I think she's able to, along with that, do other projects outside of WWE without, the consent or anything. She's going to probably have control over that, So I think that's part of the deal too. And I think also the other part is she's going to be able to do Japan, on the mat, depending on the match. So, yeah, I think she got the deal she wanted. And that's why she's excited about this being a new journey. She's hoping everybody's going to go on along with her, because it's a deal that's a first step, not just for her, but it's a first step for every man and woman in that company. That if you talk to them and say you have these other plans, you want to do this, but you still want to be here under the new regime, maybe you'll be able to get that. So we'll see. We'll see. But that's what I think is going on with Sasha. That's what I think has happened, that she got the deal she wanted, and she is going to be on her way back. Very soon, maybe in time for Survivor Series, we'll see. But if not, and she is going to go the other route, I'll admit, that's a big coup for Tony. But again, the only reason she would do that is because that's a straight line to New Japan. But we'll see. Right now, with her, basically people pointing out her and Naomi being in the signature intro again after not being in there, the week, days prior in the same week. That's a sign that, yeah, she is coming back, or at least the first sign anyway, that she's coming back. And two, she might have gotten the deal she wanted. But what do you guys think? Do you think Sasha's announcement is she is coming back to WWE, in time for Survivor Series in Boston for War Games, and it's because she got the deal she wanted? What are your thoughts? Or do you think maybe it has to do something more movie-related, music-related, more fashion, entrepreneur-related? What are your thoughts? Or do you think maybe she will throw us the curve and do AEW? Let me know what your thoughts are. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Hit the notification button and the subscribe button to find out when my newest content will come out. Also, basically, check out my DeviantArt page at BVW1979. Also, check me out at patreon.com/BWRoses. At the $1, $3 tier, currently working on a $5 Q&A tier. I will let you know if that does happen. Also, check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't hear on YouTube. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2, Cash App at BW Roses98. I will automatically get your financial support that way. And that will be a big help, guys. Also, check me out at BW Roses Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora, where you also will get a audio podcast version of this. Also, check me out at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else, just in time for the holidays, including, ladies and gentlemen, some new MLP-related merchandise. So let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment below, live chat during the premiere, and I'm out.